Valentine's month. All month we're going to be talking about love and marriage and sex. Yay! So I'm glad you still showed up. I mean, you got the email, you got the Facebook, and they're all still here. So that's great. And Miss Debbie has a quick announcement, and then I'm going to announce our speaker.
Who's at the conference this past week? Woo! Thank you for coming and supporting. I hope it was a blessing and encouragement and got you fired up kind of thing. I'm just going to announce really quick, again, our Real Housewives of Grace. And again, you guys are already plugged in here, but Real Housewives of Grace are just a once-a-month evening moms group, mentoring groups. They're meeting on Wednesdays. Karina has one, and with Jerry and Mona Gruder and Kelly Wild have one. If you have moms that are working moms that are looking for something, it's fabulous. And also another mentoring moms group called Heartfelt. Those are on our websites. Those are all different times. They have food and mentoring. It's awesome. Just want to let you know again. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, conference was awesome. Can't wait for next year. So today we have the privilege of hearing from our former fearless leader who led this group for 3 years. And I'm so happy to be calling her a friend. We have developed a friendship over the years of her being at Grace. And not only is she beautiful on the outside, but she's beautiful on the inside. So I'm glad you guys get to hear her heart for some of you who might not know her as well. And she has a great testimony of what God has done in her life and freedom that God has brought her in her life. And so I'm so happy you get to hear that message of freedom. If you are a single mom, I know we might have a few in here today. Just as a mentor mom said before the meeting, take these tools. Use them for later, but also Tammy will be giving you tools as well, all of us as parents, of how we can teach our children, the next generation, about the topic of sex from a godly, biblical, healthy, freedom perspective, which is amazing that we have the ability to pass on freedom and give our children that is just such a gift. So please join me in welcoming Tammy Berard.
Thanks, friend. I almost feel like Lisa Bevere now up here. All right, so I am so super excited to have to follow Pastor Matt up here. Yay! That was literally one of the best messages I've ever heard here at Moms, and it personally affected me in a profound way. And I'm sure my sex talk is going to be profound as well. I know. So, but it is a topic worth talking about when it comes to our marriages. Can you guys hear me? Oh, good. My table showed up. I was like, oh, my gosh, my table doesn't even want to hear me. This is not good. Okay, good. So, I'm going to pull a lot from this book. This was recommended to me about 10 years into my marriage. It's called The Sexually Confident Wife by Shannon Etheridge, Connecting with Your Husband, Mind, Body, Heart, and Spirit. I highly recommend you read this. So I have been married to my husband, Raymond, for 20 years. I'm going to have a picture of my cute little family. Oh, they're so cute. That's my daughter, Taylor. She's 15, and my son, Trevor, who is almost 10, and my youngest, Drew, which just turned 7. So that's my cute little family. And Taylor Dobson took those pictures just in case you're wondering. Okay, so what I can tell you after being married for 20 years is that your sex life will go through seasons. Like everything else, sex is crucial to a healthy marriage, though, and it is worth the effort and the work to keep it a top priority. When you were first married, things were probably, sex probably wasn't an issue because things were fresh and new, and your bodies hadn't birthed little people yet, and you were more free and uninhibited, and your husband didn't get on your nerves every 5 minutes. Yeah. But those things can change through the years and decades. Oh, I can see decades. Wow, it's crazy. But especially when life starts happening, right? Our bodies start changing. Babies come. Well, so then how do we maintain an exciting sex life for both partners? In her book, Shannon goes through the issues that she believes adversely affects our relationships. And these are areas that I believe that we need freedom from to have a healthy relationship and to feel confident. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those. And Shannon also does a great job in the book explaining the science behind how we connect physically, emotionally, and especially spiritually. And she talks about dealing with the ghosts from your past, like those childhood tapes you might play over and over in your head, the lies we believe, like I'm not worthy of love, or I'm not attractive, or I'm too much this or too much that. And these lies can attach themselves to us at a very young age, or any age really. And or maybe you have scars from sexual abuse that you need healing from. Or possibly you need to cut soul ties from previous relationships. If you need freedom from any of those areas, if that's something that you can relate to, then I would start with this book. And then I would also join a freedom class here at Grace that I think they start next week. So there's still a possibility to talk to your leaders after. But for me, I needed freedom from all three of those areas. But the most problematic for me was probably the soul ties. My husband and I were not Christians when we got married. I was actually engaged to someone else when I met my husband. We were both very sexually active before marriage, and we brought all that baggage into our relationship. So it really interfered with my ability to go all in my marriage. I was constantly comparing my husband to the other relationships, and I kept the thought in the back of my mind, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to him. And I actually dreamed about my ex-boyfriend all the time. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to get out of where I was. So about 6 months into our marriage, we actually got saved together at this church. Praise Jesus, because we would not have seen our first anniversary. That is for sure. And through mentorship, I was able to recognize what was going on, and I was able to break that soul tie through prayer and by taking those thoughts captive and replacing them with what God's word said about my life and my marriage, and by being around healthy marriages and seeing people walk out what it looked like to really love their spouse. Getting free from what holds you back, not just sexually, but relationally, is worth doing. So please ask afterwards your table leader about freedom if that's something that you think would benefit you. So another big challenge for women is befriending the body image bear. In all my years of doing women's ministry, I have found this is probably one of the biggest hurdles in our sex lives. Our society is so saturated with sexual images of women, and almost all those women are young, size 2 girls, perfect skin, perfectly proportioned. But interestingly, though, body image affects everyone, even women who we think look perfect. And you might be thinking, really, Tammy? You're standing up there, 5'10", size 4, formal model, what do you know about body image issues? Well, I do. We all struggle with it. It takes work to love yourself. I spent many years in the modeling industry, and some of the most beautiful women I know were the most insecure, unhappy people on earth. And this dissatisfaction and low self-esteem, it affects our sexual confidence. The number one reason women avoid sex, according to a USA Today poll, is that they don't feel comfortable with how their bodies look. And I know no one in this room is shocked to hear that. So why are we women so hard on ourselves, even ones who look relatively healthy and fantastic by most standards? Could it be that we have bought the lie that men only want those picture-perfect women? Well, according to the polls in this book, that is not the case. Men love curves, and men love their wives' curves. So why don't we believe our husbands when they tell us that they think we're sexy? We should stop deciding for our men what we think they think is sexy. If your husband tells you that he loves your thighs or your breasts or your butt or whatever, then believe him. Stop telling him he's crazy or blind or lying. And stop pointing out your flaws to him. So I know, I do this, so just last week, I'm brushing my teeth and, my underwear, and the mirror is this big, and I see everything that I think is wrong with my body. And he walks in, big smile on his face. You tell me how sexy my butt is. And I'm like, what? Oh, my gosh, look at this cellulite in my dimples. Yes, skinny girls have cellulite, so you know. And, but why? Why do we do that? It's like when someone walks up to you and you're talking to them, and they're like, oh, gosh, don't look at the zit on my face. You're like, well, I didn't notice it, but now that you mention it, I see it, and that's all I'm going to see now that I'm talking to you. Like, don't do that. Stop doing that. Men, God created men visual, and when they look at us, they just see their beautiful, naked wives. They don't see all of our flaws, right? And guys have body issues. Like, they worry about their bellies and their hairy back and their bald heads, but they don't let it interfere with their sexual confidence, right? They're like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. Why do we do that? Now, of course, we can all do better. I'm not saying whether it's eating better or exercising more, of course, will help not only with our sexual confidence, but more importantly, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to set good examples for our children and loving ourselves, but perfection should never be the goal. Just the best you can be, whether that's a size 14 or size 4. I mean, happiness is a choice. I mean, you get to choose it now, not when you're perfect or you lose 10 pounds or whatever. And confidence is sexy and it's attractive. You can know the most beautiful woman, but if they're insecure and whiny, then eventually you don't see them as beautiful and you don't want to be around them. And we all know women who are not beautiful according to the world standards, but their confidence is attractive. And men are attracted to confidence. So choose to love you and work on your confidence. All right, so back to this book. Shannon gives like lots of practical advice and discusses every sexual topic, position. I mean, I consider myself pretty knowledgeable in this area, but like I found myself blushing a few times. I was like, what? But like turning the book upside down. Yeah. But like considering what we hear in our music and on TV and the movies we watch and social media, like we should be able to talk about this and read about it in a godly book on sex. And I think it helps if we consider the fact that actually sex was God's idea. He actually made our reproductive organs, and not just for reproducing. So there are 3 purposes for sex. 1 is procreation, 2 is pleasure, 3 is pair bonding. We all get number 1, obviously, we're all moms in this room, right? But do we get number 2? That sex existed before Adam and Eve fell. You know what? How many times am I going to say sex today? Like literally more than I've ever in my entire life added up. Oh my gosh. All right, so anyway, God absolutely designed sexual pleasure to be part of marriage. I mean, it existed before Adam and Eve fell. You can read the book Song of Solomon if, you have a religious mindset towards sex. Who asked me to do this talk? Where's Misty? Man, good thing I love her. Next year I want to go back to organizing, please, talking about organizing. I'm like sweating up here. I've been sweating for 2 weeks since I've had to write this. But I mean, if we can't talk about it here, then what does it say about the church, Because you can be sure they're talking about it everywhere else. All right, so back to number 3, the pair bonding. God designed sex, this hopefully heart-racing, mind-blowing act, right, to bond 2 people together. I mean, just think of it like this. Like, you are the only woman that gets to send your husband over the edge in this way, right? And he, in return, is the only one who gets to do that for you. Like, this should bond us together. All right, so let's say, so if we get free from past issues and we befriend that body image bear, oh gosh, here comes a man. Turn around. Okay, and we understand that God intends for us to enjoy sex. Then what do we do when life throws obstacles at our way? So I've listed some of the obstacles on your outline, but let's talk about a few for defining normal. What is that? Can we just agree that normal looks different for every couple? Okay. So what is the normal amount of times we should have sex a week? What positions and acts are normal for us to do? Is it normal for me to want sex more than my husband? So these answers are going to be different for every couple. But the most important thing we can do is to communicate respectfully and honestly with our husbands about it. Understand that for most men, sex is a tremendous need. If you asked him if he wanted to give up food or sex, most men would say food. It's true. But most women need emotional and spiritual connection more. But if you're in a healthy relationship where you truly do want to meet each other's needs, then talk about it. All right, so in my marriage, thank you for closing the door. We try not to let 3 days go by without connecting sexually. I mean, this is just what works for us. Does it always look like that? No. But we, and by we, I mean me, try to make sure 3 days doesn't go by. And I can usually tell it's been too long for Raymond when he's like, wow, you look so sexy. And I'm like, in my dirty sweats, I haven't even brushed my teeth, my hair looks, and I'm like, oh yeah, that boy needs some sex. That's a good indicator for me. And and ladies, don't wait to decide if you're gonna have sex until you fall exhausted into bed at night, right? Because you're almost always gonna decide no. Women's bodies physically work differently than a man's. I mean, most men are ready to go at any given second, but women usually need to be warmed up, right? We need those oxytocins flowing. So even if you don't feel like it, I mean, at least like get naked and have some skin-to-skin contact and let him give you a little massage and see what happens. You may never be in the mood if you don't do a little prep work first. And most men are willing to put in the effort to help you get there. They don't necessarily want you to just have sex with them like you're doing them a favor. They want you to want them. So I saw some of you guys went to the Fearless conference, right? Did you guys, Lisa Bevere, was she like so fierce? I know. So somehow, because God loves me so much, I got the privilege with Cheryl Anderson, we got to drive Lisa around for the 4 days she was here. And so Saturday was Cheryl's birthday, so I had Lisa all to myself. It's awesome. So I'm driving her back to the hotel, and we're talking, and I tell her about this talk. And she turned sideways in her chair. What? She was like so excited that we were doing this, right? And I said, so Lisa, give me like your best sex advice I can give the ladies. Whoa. She like gave me way too much stuff I cannot repeat up here. I was like, whoa, PG, we're recording this. I cannot say that. But anyways, her and John do have a book out on marriage, so she's discussed this a lot. But she gave me what she said was her and John have a 5-minute rule. He gets 5 minutes to try to get her in the mood. And she says it almost always works, ladies. So there you go. Even Lisa Bevere and John have to work on their marriage and their sex life. All right, so what's another challenge? How about like the 9-month challenge? So pregnancy can be difficult, I understand for some, but if you're having a normal pregnancy, then like pregnancy sex can be like your best ever. Everything's nice and full, and your hormones are raging, right? And this is always great time for us. Harder when I was pregnant with my third one, though, because I had 2 kids, and I was old, and I was tired. Yeah. But just make sure you aren't using it as an excuse to not be intimate with your husband. And postpartum can be a challenge because, you have to wait 6 weeks and you're a zombie. And, your husband's still like, well, I still have needs. But, so it's still important to connect on a physical level. And Shannon talks. She has some great ideas. I'm telling you, this book is great. Lots of ideas of what you can do on that. So you don't want to hear me have to say them. Right? I don't want to have to say them. Okay, so what happens when your sex life just starts to fizzle out, right? Or just like seems like too much work? So for us, like most, we started off all hot and heavy, but then like life happened and kids happened, and we also struggled with infertility. That took a toll on our marriage. And, so at one point we had been married for 13 years. We had 2 kids. And, we were basically at that time parents first and a couple second. I knew all the good marital advice. You have to date your husband. You have to invest in your marriage, blah, blah, blah. It takes work. But the reality was we had jobs and 2 kids, and one was particularly demanding, and I was tired. I know I say that a lot, but I am. I'm 43, and I'm tired. And those 2 boys are about to do me in. And that was just the way it was. And we thought we were fine. Our marriage is fine, right? Do any of you feel like that? We're fine. We haven't spent 5 minutes alone in like 3 years, but we're fine. We're fine. And so right about this time, we had an opportunity. My parents offered to watch my kids for the weekend because Raymond had a conference in New York, and I was going to go. Yay, 3 days without kids. It was terrible. It was the worst. By lunch the first day, we realized we have nothing to talk about. I don't even know you. If we're not talking about the kids, we have nothing to talk about. We argued the whole time. I literally spent the last night locked in the bathroom. I slept on the floor with the pillows in my mouth. I can't even stand him. I don't even want to see his face. I cannot wait to get home to my kids. It was all about, it was awful. It was awful. And so as soon as we got back to Tampa, I was like, okay, I want my marriage to work. So what are we going to do? Because this is not working. So I decided we were going to start with a date night. So every weekend, I booked the sitter. I made the plans. I told Raymond where we were going. I didn't wait for him to plan it. I mean, I'm the planner in the family, so I should plan it. So it wasn't easy at first. I mean, we still didn't have anything to talk about. And so we made a rule for the first 30 minutes, we could talk about the kids and household, but after that, that was it. So it took months for us to get this connection back. But then after a while, we did, and it was so worth it. And so exactly 2 years later, we went back to that conference, and it was Raymond's 40th birthday, so we stayed longer in New York, and it was awesome. Like, we could sit in cafes and just talk for hours. It was, like, so romantic just to walk down the street with them. I mean, I did not want to come back to my kids that trip. And, you know, it was the best investment we ever made in our marriage. And I just hope you hear me. These little children are going away. That 15-year-old beautiful little girl drives me around, okay? She's going to be gone in 2 years. And it's going to be me and him. Well, someday I still have 2 other ones that it's going to be forever, but it is, and I want our marriage to be strong. So here we are now, 5 years later since that trip, and we never miss date night. Girl, I do not miss date night. I am sorry. And I'll move it around if I have to, but it's fine. But all 3 of our kids are in school now, so now we meet for lunch dates, and sometimes he works from home, and we have day dates, and it's awesome. And we take a vacation every year without the kids, and we try to have, I know if your kids are young, this is not always possible. My kids are older, but we try to get away for quick weekends whenever we can. So we're actually going tomorrow for this weekend, and I'm so excited. It helps me get through Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and laundry and homework, knowing that I have this to look forward to in a month or 2 months, this little getaway with my husband. And, it's just a couple days where he gets his wife's full attention. And I get out of being a mom of someone needing something from me every 5 minutes. I just get to be his woman for a couple days, and we need that. And I love it. It hasn't been easy working on the marriage. I mean, I'm telling you, there were days where I literally could not stand to look at his face. But now, and I have some crazy Cuban in me. I know it's hard to believe, but it still comes out regularly. And he still gets on my nerves, but we work through all that, and I truly love him, and he's my best friend. I love spending time with him. It's been 20 years. I feel like we're at a good place right now because of the investments we've made, and it's not perfect. But okay, so I'm going to just share with you now some things that we have done over the years to keep things exciting. So Valentine's Day is coming up. Every Valentine's Day since the beginning of time, I have bought a new lingerie outfit for me to wear for him. And anyway, he loves that. Some guys don't like lingerie. He loves lingerie. And I show it to him before I get dressed for dinner. I wear it to dinner and Valentine's, and that's, give him something to think about all night. And he loves that. And he looks forward to that every year. And I keep it all in a drawer at home, the drawer in my room. So sometimes just for no reason, I might send him a text at work, ooh, you want to pick something out of the drawer tonight? He always comes home early those days and races to the bedroom. Did you say hi to the kids? No, hangs it on the bathroom door, he loves that. It's just, keeping it exciting. After 20 years, you got to do something. And I try to flirt with him and smile. I'm so good at smiling at everybody except my family. I don't know about you. I think I use all my smiles when I come home at the end of the day. But I really have to work at it. I mean, when was the last time you smiled at your husband? That smile. That smile. The smile that I want you later, baby. The one you used to give him before you were married. And are you even nice to him? I mean, some women wonder why their husbands don't pursue them. I mean, is it possible because all he heard from you all day is everything you did wrong? And how unhappy and tired, and stressed out you are. Okay, so I saw this story on the news last week. Did you guys see this story? This man, he's I don't have all the details. I'm not a detail person. 50s, 60s, whatever. Older man, he got arrested. He committed armed robbery or something. And he told the judge or the officer, well, why would you do this? He's I want to go to jail. I do not want to go home to my wife. Literally, this was on Fox News, so I know it was true. But he said that. And the Bible says it is better to live in the corner of a roof than with a contentious wife. I have been that contentious wife. I would not have wanted to live with me for a few years of my marriage. Smile at your husbands. Be nice. Okay, so I know I'm older than a lot of you, but do you guys remember Oprah and her book club? She used to have authors come on. Okay, so this lady came on one day and she wrote this book about I don't know details. Remember, I'm not detailed. 30-day sex challenge or something. Her marriage was failing, and so she was trying to think of something she could do. So she gave her husband this gift of 30 days of sex. I was like, that is such a great idea. So 10 years ago, I gave that to my husband. Yeah, that was a lot. 30 days is a lot to maintain. So I suggest 14. If you are in a rut and you need something, give him the gift of 14 days of straight sex. It will be the best gift you ever give him. Don't do 30. But it was good. It really helped us, get that. Anyway, and how about a prayer challenge? So Cheryl was telling me about a 21 or 30-day prayer challenge her and Scott are doing together. I love that. I think it is so sexy when Raymond wraps his arms around me and prays for me. Oh, I just think that's the best. That's that spiritual and connection that we need and crave as women. So another thing, we have this app on our phone. It's called Desire, Desire. You can find it in the App Store. So it's basically this romantic game where you can send challenges back and forth to each other, and you get points, and we're super competitive, so we like that aspect. And it could be anything really sweet, you have 2 hours to come up and wrap your arms around me and whisper you love me in my ear or something, to steamier than that. But you get to pick, and it's fun. It's just another fun way if there's something looking to heat things up. There's so many things you can do to keep things fun. Heck, read this book with him. I'm telling you right now, this will get things going. Just read this book. That'll heat things up. But my prayer for you, and I hope that you ladies, that I've given you some things to think about. And my prayer for you is that you leave feeling empowered to take steps to being a sexually confident wife if you're not already. And I know that this short 30-minute talk did not cover every area of struggle. I know there are very real issues facing marriages, even marriages in this room. I know that there's pornography addictions and infidelity and abuse. And I know that this didn't touch that. But please know that you can talk to your table leader at the end. We have the resources here at the church to help you with that. This is mostly just for us regular, everyday issues. But don't hold back from pursuing what God has for your marriage. No matter how big the obstacles seem, God can restore your marriage. And I don't want us to just stop at being sexually confident wives. I want us to raise sexually confident wives. Our daughters need to see their mothers as confident with our God-given sexuality. They need to see their mothers sweetly flirting with their fathers and smiling at their fathers and affectionate at their fathers. And they need to see you be kind to yourself in front of your daughters. Stop putting yourself down in front of them. Teach her to love and respect her body. And most importantly, give her, your boys too, a healthy perspective on sex. Some of the best parenting advice I ever received was, you take your child's innocence and replace it with wisdom. Don't let the world take their innocence and replace it with foolishness. Teach them what sex is about and that it's a good thing. We use this series of books. It's called God's Design for Sex. It's 4 books. It's broken up into age groups. First book's 3 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 11, and my favorite, the 11 to 14-year-old book. So this was fun. So I tend to go towards the end. It says 14, I read it to my daughter at 13. And so, we took a couple nights. We sat in the living room while I read this book to her. And my husband pretended to do dishes in the kitchen for an hour and a half. And every time I said the word penis or vagina, he's dropping stuff. Gosh. He's sweat dripping down his face. I'm like, you are reading this to the boys. I am not reading this to the boys. And then this one, the 5 to 8-year-old, I waited till my son was 8 to read this one to him. And this is where, it basically tells you what goes where. So halfway through the book, he's like, wait, what? What, that goes where? Ew. And he sat in silence until I finished reading this book. He's like, okay, are we done? Yes. And he tried to run out of the room. I'm like, but what I said, look, I said, his name's Trevor. I'm like, Trevor, you know that you can always come talk to Mommy and Daddy about anything that has to do with sex or your body or girls. And if you feel more comfortable talking about with daddy, go ahead. But if you hear your friends or somewhere something that sounds scary or weird or not like what I just read to you, you come talk to us, okay? Because this is the truth. This is God's truth. And even though that it's weird, and it was weird to talk about all these weird things with my daughter, but she heard it from me first because she's going to hear it. They're going to hear it. But her mom, who loves her and told her that this is truth and all this is okay in the context of marriage and waiting. And they might not wait. What if they don't? That's there's grace for that too. So we're teaching them a healthy perspective and we are their safe place. Does that mean she's going to come to? I don't know. If she's 15, she'll be 16 in a couple months. We haven't had a boyfriend yet. I say we because obviously it's we. And we've had some crushes. I actually have one right now on the boy she walks to the parking lot with every day. I'm praying for him. His last name fits perfectly with Taylor. But anyway, she's had crushes, but my girl is fierce. Like, she plans on running for president one day, and she makes all her decisions based on her future, where she wants to go to college. I can't do or say that, Mom, because somebody can come back and find that video or picture of me. I mean, she's got a great head on her shoulders. I don't know if I can take credit for that. But she talks to me about stuff, and she tells me things that I sometimes wish she wouldn't. That's things that her friends are doing, too, especially because I want to call their mom so bad, but you can't because you can't break the trust between. But anyway, I'm giving this to her. I'm giving this gift to her because I know she's looking forward to one day having a special man to share her life with. And my prayer for her is that she will be a sexually confident wife with a fulfilling marriage. I want to model that for her. I think this is one of the most special gifts that I can give her as her mother, to love herself and her husband freely. I mean, it is for freedom that Christ set us free, ladies. So let's get free and help our kids to be free. And that's my prayer for you. And I'm done. If you want to come look at these books, I'll keep them up here for you.